Kristen, you want to tell them
Good morning.
tell everybody I'm getting coffee because there's coffee.
Welcome to the October provider meeting. Thank you for joining us. We have a room full of people today. We have coffee and donuts, and I think Sonny brought apples. Or he's just carrying one around.
Yeah, I just.
I had one person tell me that they weren't seeing anything in the chat. So we thought that was working because I had a person said that they were able to look at the documents, but if not, please speak up, let me know your email address so I can get you your certificate. As a reminder, next month for November, we'll be meeting on November 16th. That's a week before we typically meet so that we're not interrupting with anyone's plans for Thanksgiving. Today we have Andrea Spires will be talking about why alternate funding streams matter, and then Rachel McCoy will be starting the second session of Fulfilling Lives, and she's going to be digging a little bit deeper into person-centered practices that will promote your vision. So we will start it off with Andrea.
Yep, here we go. So let me bridge for 2 seconds. So we invited Andrea to come. One of the things that we had talked about the last meeting, for those of you who came, we really spent a lot of time working on vision, right? And where do we want to go? It's not where we are. I think we all kind of came to that conclusion during the meeting, right? We were in a place that we don't really want to be. We want to create a better person-centered practice. We want to be more person-centered. So to do that, though, there's a couple of things that will need to happen. And one of them is, like, we can't solely rely on Medicaid as our funding source. It just won't happen. You'll never break free of having all those rules and constrictions around what you do and why you do it, and how you do it. So we wanted to bring in somebody who can give you some insight. This is just kind of an intro to the topic. Next year, she's going to come back and really dig into it a bit more.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I hope you like it.
But she's a great resource. So I know a couple of providers we've had this conversation with, and we get to this point of like, how do we access these grants? How do we go after additional or funds from other places? How do we invite businesses into what we're doing so that we can have a nice relationship where we can get in-kind donations on our projects? So yeah, she's gonna do that and I guess go.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm Andrea. I'm with the Fairfield County Foundation. So I've just started with the foundation a few months ago, but before that I was with United Way. So I've kind of been immersed in funding for quite a few years. So today, I'm going to go to the next slide, Rachel. I'm going to talk about grants, fundraisers, and sponsorships as different opportunities to kind of find some funding that might help supplement what you're trying to do as a provider. So I'm going to start with grants. So in order to get grants, typically, you can go to the next slide. All right, you're going to print up here for me?
Yep.
Perfect.
And then you can, as you need to.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. So I'm going to start with grants. So typically, a lot of grant opportunities are available for 501c3 nonprofits. So I know not all of you are nonprofits, so this may not be applicable directly to you, but if you are not a nonprofit, one thing that I would definitely recommend, if there's like a project or something that you're trying to work on, is partnering with a nonprofit to apply for grants. And those grants can be found either locally, through the state, through the federal government, through private foundations, and through public foundations. So there's a lot of different opportunities, and all of them look a lot like different at what they require. The most difficult ones are going to be federal, because there's a lot of hoops, as you all know, with Medicaid, same type of hoops. And then the easier ones may be more locally, such as the Fairfield County Foundation. We try to make the grant opportunities as easy as possible to apply for. We know that you don't have a lot of time, so we want the application to be an easy process. And for example, when you are working with us at the foundation, we always want to be like that resource to reach out and talk about the project so that we can help you figure out if it's a good fit. Another way that you can apply for grants is if you are like a public agency. So potentially you could partner with like the Board of DD to apply for funding. If it's a project that's not publicly funded through like taxpayer dollars, then a lot of foundations will be willing to look at that as an opportunity for funding. So like, for example, in Lancaster, the public transit, they applied for funding for like a bus stop because they didn't have any funding federally or locally or anything like that for that. But they applied for funding through a foundation to get that bus stop in place, even though they're a government agency. A lot of grants will not pay for like operating costs or salaries. So just kind of keep that in mind. They're not going to pay like an hourly wage or anything like that. But again, it's kind of like tangible items. So if you want to purchase books or if you want to purchase, office supplies or something that would enhance what you're doing with the people that you're working with. And the best thing I would say is just build those relationships with funders. So if there's something that you're interested in applying for, is start having that conversation early with them, because it's easier to ask questions and to figure out, if they want to fund you, is if you have a good relationship with them. And they're just people. So, they're nobody special. Just have a conversation with them and try to build that relationship with them, because that's going to be the best opportunity for you. And then another opportunity to get funding is through fundraising. So a lot of organizations will do fundraising like through a restaurant. So I'm sure you've seen like Raising Cane's, Chipotle, BW3s, those kind of things. I know actually tonight, I think Big Brothers Big Sisters is having one through BW3s. So you just, talk to that restaurant and say, hey, I'm trying to raise funds for XYZ. Can we do a fundraiser? And then people will just go there and buy their food, and then they'll give you money for whatever you're working towards.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm involved with a ministry,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of places won't, because it is a religious thing that they won't.
So
Do you?
I would say maybe, I don't know like all the specifics about that, exactly how each restaurant would work, but maybe go to like a more local restaurant rather than like a chain to see if they'd be willing to do that. Or maybe just say like it's a specific program versus like, oh, the church in general, like, oh, we have a food pantry at the church, or we want to do something, a specific program at the church, then they might be more willing to support that. But I know there's that tricky thing with like,
Yeah.
they don't want to support specific religious organizations because they don't want to offend anybody or whatever. So
Yeah.
sometimes you got to kind of think like, okay, they don't want to do it in general, but how can we make it more specific, and what are they getting out of it? Maybe you should say, okay, well, we're going to bring all these people that maybe never have gone to your restaurant before to come to your restaurant now. And if they try it because of this fundraiser, they might come back. So kind of seeing what's in it for them, because, when it comes down to it, it's all about what's in it for the restaurant or their perception in the community, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another way to fundraise is like through selling an item. So some nonprofits or some organizations may have some type of business that they have that helps support the other side of the business. So like Habitat for Humanity has a thrift store that they sell items that are donated there to help support building houses. But you could, have some type of item that you're selling, then all those funds would go to support whatever you're trying to pursue. And you could also have like a raffle or 50-50. You can get organizations to donate items for you, or you could have, you could purchase something and then sell it at a higher rate by having a 50-50 or that raffle option. You could have a run or a walk, like a 5K or a 10K, or you could also do something fun like a mud run or something more unique that maybe people don't have an opportunity to do otherwise, a glow run, something like that. Because then you're going to have people sign up for that, and you're going to get all those dollars that they're unrestricted. They're not specifically for anything in particular. You can use those dollars how you need to use them. Or you can also have like an event. So Big Brothers Big Sisters, again, they have an event called Laugh for Kids' Sake. So it's bringing in a comedian, and people want to pay to see that comedian. So it's bringing in something unique, maybe a magician or other type of, something else that people would like to see, selling tickets for that. And those funds, again, are unrestricted, and you can use those however you need to use them. Yeah.
So I just want to add with fundraising, I challenge you guys all to try to avoid telling the pity story in order to get the money, right? So we want to be sure that we're really intentional about asset-based storytelling. So what's the project? It's not about this poor person with a disability, it's about something bigger. So that's the story you want to tell when you're looking at fundraising. Same with grants, you're going to have to give a narrative as to why, what you need, what you're going to use it for. Try to make it an asset-based, a strengths-based or interest-based story that you're telling.
Absolutely. I mean, it's okay to throw that in if you need to every once in a while, but when you can see what the outcomes are going to be, I think that's much more important to organizations rather than, oh, woe is me kind of a thing. Then you can also look at sponsorships. So if you are having an event or if you are doing some type of program, you could talk to businesses about sponsoring it. So you can put their name on like on a sign, on a brochure, on a t-shirt, social media. If you have a social media page, that's a great way for people to, an easy way for you to say, oh, this business did this for me. And that's getting them coverage and getting their name out there while also them giving you money to support whatever you're trying to pursue. It's all, again, back to that, what's in it for that business. But a lot of times, you know, there might be a market that maybe it's a business that you work with a lot. Well, why not ask them, hey, can you give me $250 and I'll put your name all over our social media. I'll put your name on a t-shirt. And that will help you have those dollars to do other activities or programs that you're wanting to pursue. And then there's also civic organizations out in the community. So Rachel and I are in Kiwanis. And we give funds out for different projects that involve children. So people ask us all the time for dollars and we raise funds through, we have events, we sell things, we sell nuts, that kind of thing. Then there's also these other clubs, Rotary, Lions, Security Newsies. There's referral groups out in the community, there's professional groups, and then there's churches, faith-based groups. So if you're trying to do something, maybe figure out, okay, what Kiwanis is for kids? Is it a kids activity? Maybe we can ask Kiwanis for dollars. Rotary does a lot of like community-based funding. So is it something that's going to benefit the community? Maybe ask Rotary. And just figure out like, oh, this really fits with their mission. Maybe I can ask them for funding. So whatever you're working on, figure out who is also supporting that in the community. And then asking them, are you willing to help support us and work with us on this? And then the best thing you can do is to collaborate. So maybe, you know, you are working on a project and also they're working on a project and you might have resources that can benefit both of you. Maybe you have a whole bunch of printers lying around and they have a whole bunch of computers lying around. Well, maybe you could share so that you both have a computer and a printer. Or someone donated a whole bunch of t-shirts and you don't need them all. Give them to another organization that could benefit from that. Figuring out, you know, we have an excess of this and they need that. I think that's the best way that you're going to be able to grow your opportunities and your funding because you're going to work together. I think there's a lot of, I'm trying to think of, there's more opportunities in the community if you just work together. I know Rachel does a really good job of finding, you know, here's kids that want to volunteer and here's some things that need to be done. It's just working together as much as possible. And then the last thing, I don't put it up there, but at the foundation and also, oh, did you have a question?
Nope.
Okay, sorry. There's also scholarship opportunities. So if you're working with someone that maybe wants to go to school, go to a trade school, vocational, something like that, the foundation specifically, we have scholarship opportunities available. So make sure that you look into that. Those open up in December and are due in March. So just make sure that you just apply. Because if you don't apply, if you don't ask, that's your biggest hurdle is not asking. So if you are thinking about it, just ask. Ask for a scholarship, ask for funding, ask for a sponsorship. Because the worst thing you can do is not ask. Because a business can't say yes to you if you don't ask them. But this is my contact information. I am at the Fairfield County Foundation. We are in Lancaster, but we serve all of Fairfield County. So I have some cards. If anyone would like those at the end, please reach out. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have one comment. Andrea said that those people that help you with grants aren't special people. I'll just disagree with what you said. They are special people. This is one of them that we don't know. We're glad to be here. So thank you very much.
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to make some connections and relationship building. I will say in my life, those relationships honestly have helped me so much throughout, like just my career and just being in the community. So if you don't know somebody, introduce yourself. If you think that they don't want to know you, they want to know you. I want to know you. And want to figure out how we can work together and make the community better. Because that's our goal, right? Is to help lift everybody up. A rising tide lifts all ships. So just don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to talk to people and figure out how you can work together. So.
I have a question, if that's right. So are there any, do you know of any grant writing classes or like training opportunities for us that are like, you know, university level?
Sure. I would reach out to the libraries. Sometimes they have opportunities there. That's a question we get a lot. People want to know like, how do I write a grant? When I first started at United Way, I had never written a grant before. and I just Googled it. So Google it. But I do know like the library does have like those online classes, and I'm sure that there are grant writing classes in those online opportunities. Look at old grants if you can maybe find an old grant from someone to look at and see kind of how it is. But don't be intimidated by grants, especially if they're local grants. You don't have to be writing anything super fantastic, in-depth and detail. You just need to give them the information and show them, here's what I'm trying to do, and this is why it's important. So Google is a good friend, but feel free to reach out to me or anyone at the foundation or United Way or any of those type of funders.
Is anybody like using alternative funding streams?
How about on Zoom?
You mean to stop
Also
sharing?
like thinking about things that are outside of like government or, you know, like just business grants or different initiatives that maybe are around community building, because really that's gonna fit in line with, I think, if we're working with somebody to connect with their community, you can access grants that will help promote that. And then also like then you're using your Medicaid then for your staff, but the project grant, the freedom to be able to do that then can be funded by these other streams, if that makes sense.
I know that South Central Power does it, because they helped when me and Les had our Special Olympics Club. They
Yeah.
helped with that.
Yeah, and we've had like car dealerships, a lot of organizations have a budget line for money for the community, right? And so I think you can speak to that. It's not as an organization, like she said, get down to like an actual, here's the one thing we're trying to do. Whether it's with 5 people connecting, they want to do the X, Y, and Z, and here's what we need it for. I know that I sit on the review panel for the Ohio Arts Council. They have a grant that's just for artists with disabilities. And the one thing that I look for a lot of times is sustainability of the money. So I'll approve the money on one of the things is, what's your plan for not needing this money? Like, what's your plan going forward? And so that's one thing that I think about. So if you're going to access the grants, nice that's this one thing, but we also don't want to create events that are just one-time events. This is about people getting connected and staying connected in their community. So what's the sustainability of the project?
That's true of most funders. They're not going to fund you the same thing like year after year. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, they might give you money to do it this year, but you're going to find somebody else next year that will help fund it in a different way. And kind of back to what you were saying about the businesses with the line items to give back to the community, make sure you're asking kind of early. You don't want to wait until like a week or two before your event or before your program because they're not going to have it available at that time. A lot of them plan for the year ahead, like in the third quarter or the fourth quarter of the year. So just make sure that you're kind of planning for the next year as far in advance as possible because that's going to give you a better opportunity to get those funds.
Although we're looking at alternative funding, one of the easiest grants to get is something with the Department of ED. And every week they have something out there. Now, there's a lot of times it's not connected to what we're doing. Maybe it's technology or something else that's not related to what you guys are doing, but look at them every week because and they're the easiest things to apply for. And I've been on some of those reviews and you get some really, really terrible stuff, but the content in and of itself is important, just written terribly. But not unlike what Andrea is saying, I think they look at, hey, how's this going to support the people that we're supposed to serve. So it's a great one to try. I remember the first one I ever got in Lincoln County. They sent us a $10,000 check soon. We said we wanted to do the grant. No strings attached.
Yeah. So just ask.
Yeah, they're
If you
easy.
don't ask, you definitely won't get it. So don't be afraid to ask. And if they tell you no, that's okay. Try again. Try and try again.
And how, can people ask then, if it's a no, can they inquire more about how
Absolutely.
they can strengthen that for next time?
Yeah, absolutely. If someone tells you no, definitely ask for feedback. Because it may not be anything against you either. It might be just limited funding at that time. It may be, there's all these other things going on and we had already had conversations previously, so we knew we were going to fund that right now. But maybe next year, it might be a perfect fit. So definitely ask why.
The big thing that I keep thinking about, what do you guys see as the biggest barrier that Medicaid has? Like, we're talking about person-centered practices. What seems to be the big thing that gets in the way of that?
Ask again, I don't understand what you're asking.
No, that's cool. Thanks for saying that. So more so like with agencies, right? So if I'm an agency and I want to do person-centered planning, like true person-centered planning, it would mean I'd have to work with one person at a time, right?
Right.
So what would be the barrier that Medicaid puts? It's just the nature of the rule that you're using that kind of keeps you from being able to do that.
Because Medicaid, I think, is individualized.
Okay.
And if you're doing something, that involves a lot of people, that's not individualized.
Right.
I mean, it's not.
Okay, but from a perspective of an organization,
I don't
what would you,
know.
no, that's okay, because I think.
Tara might be trying to.
I think somebody can speak to that then too, absolutely.
I'm not an organization, so I don't.
Yeah, no.
But I'm looking at.
She unmuted for a second, so she might, yep, she's unmuting again.
Hi guys, so it's really hard for us to be able to provide person-centered services with the amount of reimbursement that Medicaid provides. The reimbursements are so limited, they really don't even cover the cost of, we're talking utilities at some point in the amounts of reimbursement that we're getting for individuals that they deem don't need that much support. Definitely it doesn't ever really even cover staffing. We have to get really creative in our grant writing, and we also have to ensure that our other programs are accounting for the shortfall that we continuously have in our ADS program.
Thanks, Tara, that's what I was looking for. Yep, so it's hard when the reimbursement is limited, but it also limits you to one staff to how many people, right? And so then you're kind of stuck there. When you break out of that, instead of having Medicaid as your sole funding, but if you have it as a piece of your braid, then it's different, it changes things, it's a game changer for you, right? So I think that's the part we're trying to see, how can that happen?
Any other questions? Any other thoughts?
I was gonna ask Tara, can you share some of the things that you guys do as far as fundraising?
Yeah, so we're trying to branch out and get creative with new things that we can do. We have a lot of community partners that are willing, if we just ask, they'll run promotions for us. Like recently we had a car wash promotion with Moo. We were involved in the art walk where we completed spin art for kids or whoever, adults, whoever wanted to do that. We have had Schmitz, the sausage truck, come on site twice, and they provide us with a portion of all sales that they are making. We also have a lot of new fun things in the works where we're thinking about a whole community like block type of event, but that's really in its infancy. So I don't want to go too far into detail on that. But just, it's little by little here and there. We just had our huge fair fundraiser, which is Rat and Knives. It's a really great fundraiser that supports a lot of the fun extra stuff that we get to do that is person-centered. Those are basically kind of the ones that we've had recently.
Thank you. I knew there was somebody on Zoom that knew something.
I don't know if you guys know who Tara is. She works with the Center for Disabilities.
I think one of the things that we got to think about too is we know there's limitations to the funding. I mean, there's just no question about it, whether it's ADS services or HPC services. But one of the things that, as we look at trying to change our system locally and individually, as you guys are all trying to change your agency, coming up with a new business plan, coming up with a new vision and mission. A lot of times there's businesses out there that have staff that they encourage their staff to work with nonprofits or agencies. So reach out to your Park National Banks, to some of your bigger companies and say, hey, we're trying to do a strategic planning retreat. You've got somebody that's in your agency that can do those for us. A lot of those bigger agencies, bigger companies like to do that. You might have a free resource where if you brought someone in for an 8-hour retreat, you're going to be paying more than any of us can afford, right? So those are just some things to think about when you're looking at planning and future planning and missions and visions and all that stuff. There's a lot of people out there that are, and again, a good place to start with that would be the chamber. Of course, OUL is a great place to talk to those classes, those kids. One of the things we did at Forest Road School, we had the engineering class come in, work with some of the kids at Forest Road School, and they did some phenomenal things just for projects for the students. So there's all kinds of cool Key Club, any of those kind of clubs are great. Again, it's not a funding source, but it's a way for you to kind of revisit what you're doing.
Yep, no, I was just gonna say, we did the same thing. When I was working with Blue Shoe Arts, the OUL, there was a professor who, I think it was like a marketing class. They wanted a project that they did that they could market. And so we created like a painting, like a community painting, I don't know, experience, I guess. And they did all the marketing, they paid for everything. And we were just there kind of helping facilitate the entire.
And you could even work with the students to get interns, and you don't have to pay them, but they're getting experience. And that's providing you with an extra person that can maybe look into some of these things that you may not have time to do otherwise, because I know you're doing a lot of things all at one time. So if you get a student that is really interested in some of the things that you're passionate about or what your agency or organization is doing, you're not going to pay them in dollars, but you're going to pay them in experience that's really going to help them after they graduate to have when they're trying to look for a job. So I definitely would reach out to OUL, OCU, some of our local colleges or even students, because they might want an internship too as a high school student, that they may not be available a ton of hours per week, but maybe in the summertime or a few hours after school once a week. And that's going to just give you that inexpensive or, free person to help you kind of pursue some of these things. And when Kyle was talking, it kind of reminded me, there's a place in Pickerington called Cultivate. I'm not super familiar with them, but it is kind of like a hub and it's free. There are paid options as well, but it's a free place to kind of come and get some guidance on your business. So I would definitely reach out to them. And actually OU in Athens has a small business, does anybody know what it's called? There's a small business thing at Athens. I don't remember what it's called, but if you just Google it, I'm sure you could find it.
They're like just workspaces, right? Like
But they have advisors though. They have people that will advise you in your business. So I would definitely reach out to Athens if you're trying to maybe navigate your business in a new way, or you're trying to figure out, I don't really understand financials, or I don't really understand a strategic plan, that kind of thing. It's free, so why not? It's provided, available. Again, just ask, they'll help you. And if you're not able to go to Athens, I'm sure that they have Zoom opportunities and Zoom things that they could do with you. So.
And any of you guys that have like a specific project or anything that you're working on, like we were talking about, that you need volunteers, you need interns, reach out to me, because I am involved in a lot of different places in the community that they're coming to me saying, hey, we have these kids that need volunteer hours, or most of them in a specific area. So if you have a specific project that you're working on and that fits in, reach out to me and I can help you do that legwork too.
Anything else? Okay, well, if you have questions, just reach out. I'm glad to help you any way that we can. It's good meeting all of you. So thank you.
Thank you,
So I'm gonna take a break for a second before I go, or is everybody good?
Down for a break.
Okay, Sunny's down for a break. Let's have like a 5-minute break. Can you pee in 5 minutes? There I am again. Okay. So my mouse is a little tricky. Jumping ahead. Okay. All right, you guys ready? Okay, so last time I presented, we talked about fulfilling lives, so this is gonna be part 2. So the last thing we talked about was, who do you know that's been making good progress? So does anybody have any stories to share about that? Did you forget that was your homework?
Yes.
Forgot.
We have,
Okay.
we have a girl who who's with us now, but she was with the CDC for a while. And she has now been with us for a little bit over a year, both Upreach and Melanie, and that's the longest that she's been at a place. And this is also the longest that she has had the same team members. So she's shown a lot of growth in terms of just like accepting new people into her life, developing and what's the word? Adapting and stuff. And so we're just really happy.
Cool.
That we just talked with her about that recently, so.
Yeah. And remember, it can be small things that people are, you know, they're finding the things that they want out of their life and making those work out. Nobody else? Okay, that's okay. So, part 2, here we go. Maybe. Oh, my mouse, hang on, sorry.
Do the arrows work
There we go.
without the mouse?
Probably, that's probably a good idea. Okay, so also, at the last provider meeting, these are some of the things that you guys all came up with as far as the vision for the work that you're doing. So I want to remind everybody of those. Those were up on the whiteboard. They're not all up here, but the ones that I highlighted are the ones that we're going to specifically talk about today. Arrows. Thank you. Okay, so.
Are you recording this session too?
Yes.
Yes. Voices just come from nowhere.
Thank you. And is the chat disabled for a reason?
I don't know.
No.
Kristen?
I'll work on that.
Thank you.
I'd say it's working for some people and not for others, so I'm not sure.
But they can see the handouts though, right?
No.
No.
Well, some people can.
Okay. All right, we're just gonna roll with that. Okay, so we know that people with more fulfilled lives bring about a stronger community. So that's why I pulled out these pieces of what you guys determined was part of the vision for what we're all doing. So part of the vision is contribution, rich experiences and opportunities and community belonging for the people that we support. Everyone has talents and gifts to present to their community. So part of our goal is to help people find the gifts, talents and interests, and then share those with their community. So we're gonna do a little bit of a workshop today that focuses on, is it okay over there?
Maybe.
Okay. You want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for those of you guys on Zoom, there is a QR code in the left-hand corner of that. You can take a picture of that with your phone to be able to see the handout. You guys have the handout on paper, but in case you can't get that to come up in the chat, hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so basic tasks for service providers. John O'Brien is a leading thinker in the field of developmental disability. He's a pioneer and lifelong advocate of person-centered planning. So we've talked about person-centered planning all morning. There are many different methods of person-centered planning. We talked about last time too. I know not all of you guys were here, but maps, paths, person-centered thinking tools. So discovering gifts and interests is the first step to the circle. I'm sorry, I'm distracted about the not working.
It's working.
Okay.
It's working.
It's the first step that we'll focus on today. So assisting someone in finding their gifts and interests starts with deeply listening and finding solutions for a more desirable future. The end goal is determining that more is possible for each person. So that sheet that you have in front of you guys kind of shows all of the pieces of those goals. Okay. Meaningful engagement. I know I'm reading this a lot, you guys. This is like a lot of information for me to remember. Meaningful engagement and contribution grows from what people care about as well as what they have to offer. So each of us carries within us certain qualities and attributes that contribute to society. Those are our personal gifts. So I have the definition of gift up here. A notable capacity, talent, or endowment, something voluntarily transferred by one person to another. We all have specific purpose for being here. In the same way, you have innate strengths and abilities that are all your own. So as you journey through life, you may find yourself drawn to certain activities and things you feel called to do. You begin to resonate with a specialty or calling, and therein lies the keys to identifying your gifts. So we are going to talk about our own gifts. We're going to learn about our own gifts, first of all, because some people, I don't know if they really know that they have gifts. And then we're going to talk to each other about what each other's gifts are. Then I'm going to have you guys present about someone else. So kind of along the same lines as what we did with Sunday this morning, but a little bit more in depth, I hope. Yeah? Okay. Pam, feel free to jump in at any time.
You're doing great.
Okay. So I'm gonna go over this first. We're gonna work on our own gifts, and then we're gonna break out and talk to each other. So the sheet that you have has the definition on the top, and then some of the things to think about when you're thinking about your own gifts and your own talents. These are some questions that can kind of lead you to find those things. So up in that left-hand box in the corner is, how did you love to spend your time in your youth? Because I think a lot of times that can be a generator of ideas for now. What are you passionate about now as an adult? Over on that little box, ask your family and friends. We're gonna do that. We're gonna ask our friends. Everybody's got a new friend, right? And then what is important about your life? So broken down in there is career, family, relationships, personal development, spirituality, recreation, and health. So if you think about all of those things, those questions should be able to prompt you to figure out what are your gifts and talents? What do you own now that you can give to someone else? So the whole goal is to be able to help someone that you're supporting find those things for themselves. So I thought, if we dig down in a little bit and think about it for ourselves, it might be a lot easier when we're working with someone to be able to work with them.
Keep in mind, if you're going through something like this with staff, it can be part of annual training topics, just so you guys know. So just it's person-centered thinking, planning. It's a technique that's gonna help them support somebody better. And I don't know, I know you said this, but does anybody, when I think of gift and interest, does anybody see those as two separate things? Or do you see them as kind of running in together? Words.
I think I seem separate.
You see them separate as two, okay. So we're talking about gifts, but I think also thinking about interests too is really important, right? As we're talking about these things. There's things that I think I might be really good at, I don't really like doing, but I am really good at them, right? And so those have to come in together when we're working with somebody. I think that the interest is what keeps you doing the thing that you're really good at or you really like to do. That's all.
Thank you.
A quick history lesson, because I'm the old guy in the room, so I get to talk about history. If way back before most of you were in the system, we used to do person-centered planning by writing on the wall. You remember this. We would write on the wall all the things that were something wrong with the people that we support. And we'd have a list as long as one of those sheets paper. That was before we had Post-its. We had to tape them up on the wall. And we'd write all the things that needs, and we write needs of a person. And then we think the things that were important to the person, would they be this maybe one or two things. And so person-centered planning kind of has turned us to, let's look at what's a person's gifts or what they really want to do. But I think out of those two things, we've gotten to where we just focus on what's someone really, really good at, and we've lost the interest piece. And I think when we think about person-centered planning, we can't. And exactly what you said, I appreciate you bringing that up, because, we can look at gifts all we want, and there may be, who knows what those things are, but some people may be really, really good at things that they're not interested in at all. And so if we put all our energy into those parts, people are still not gonna live a meaningful life, because what they're interested in is what their passion is.
Yeah.
And so we have to, when we're doing person-centered services and we're doing person-centered thinking, and we're doing person-centered planning, they're equal. I mean, in my brain, I think the interests are more important than the gifts, because if I've got a passion to do something, I want to overcome the things that maybe get in the way. I've seen it happen with people without disabilities. I've seen it happen with lots of people with this. Michael Jordan became a great basketball player because he was passionate about it. He wasn't gifted when he started, When he was a sophomore in high school, he got cut from the varsity team. So did I. I didn't say
Someone had two different life paths.
But at any rate, but his passion was basketball. He wasn't gifted at the ninth grade. but look at what he did. So I think we have to think about that, and I can just give you example after example after example of people that we support who, when we found what it was they were really interested in, that other stuff just, it took a backseat. So I think it's really important to not just look at gifts, because I think that's what we fall into way too often. And again, I think it's historical, because we used to talk about needs, and we, God forbid, we talk about that anymore, because I think that's still important, that we look at those things that people need supported with, but we shouldn't put all of our energy into that.
So the sheet you have in front of you says unique gifts. Where would you like to go with that?
Fine.
I just wanted to see if people were thinking the same, them as one and the same or not, and kind of where that, yeah. So we're all on the same page, which is this page.
Okay.
We're all on this page now.
You guys think it's easier to notice gifts in other people than it is in yourself?
For sure.
Okay, so do me a favor, let's back up. On that Post-it in front of you, because I forgot this part,
Yeah.
think about a gifts or a talent that someone else has
That you really,
that you really, really admire.
You have to name the person.
Nope, please don't name the person.
They have to be in this room, or can it be?
No, whoever. Like, for instance, I have a friend, her name's Andrea Spires. She's really, really amazing at literally everything I've ever asked her to do. If I need to know somebody, or if I need to know someone to talk to about an agency, or if I just need to like vent about my boss or something, like, she's an amazing person. Like, I could list all of her gifts and talents and like fill that whole board. So I'm sure they're.
She always makes my confidence just go through.
Yes. So I get that it's easier to, when you're thinking about somebody else other than yourself, but I think it's really important to be able to see those things in ourselves too, so that we can remember to look for them in other people. So yeah, let's do that.
Did Andrea Spires write your bio?
Let me
Anyway.
write a good one.
I think I wrote it for you.
You write a good one?
So just take a couple minutes and then we'll do this.
Just so everybody knows, Sonny's thinking about me.
He's like looking at you. No.
Like, man, there's just so many things I admire about him. I just don't know which one to pick.
I have a lot of people in this room I could pick, but I won't tell you their real names.
Where do they go?
Just write it.
Yeah, just write it and I'll put them up. We're gonna put them up here. You can come up and put them up.
I love that you said. Don't spell your name. And they don't have to be in this room, and then you name drop the person in this room.
Yeah, but I was just, that was just an example.
Need a post-it.
I could call out a bunch of people in this room for their amazing
They're
talents.
way too tall.
Way too tall.
We're amazing basketball players.
Runner,
Right.
loser.
Sunny, did you run hurdles too in track? Because Jamie did.
I dove under. Yeah. I was running and then my face went head first.
Guess I just ran fast enough that I was able to.
Just get some air.
And my little legs will move like that.
I almost said AOL.
Hunter is a freak.
Supposed to be positive. Oh, look, I didn't even touch that and it moved again. Dang.
Think about something that you admire and want.
It doesn't have to be somebody personal, does it? It can be like
Any trait that you admire and want.
You can't fail. You cannot write the wrong answer.
Unless it's a positive thing with Hunter.
Oh, shoot.
Is it one at a time, like one?
I don't know. You could list them.
Whatever you want.
Well, starting with her.
Oh,
Not that one.
Right. Mhm.
Boom. Kyle, we're supposed to let it go. Let it go, Karen.
What? Is it up here?
Yeah, it's like, I messed up my postage.
You only had one?
I put a whole bunch of them on one.
Here, I got it.
Where is it?
I just said one for postage. I've already been called
I don't know what that says.
Already, see? You see why I didn't put off the list?
I don't know what it says. You'll have to fill it
It's
in.
code.
Is that everybody's? Are you guys still thinking?
I'm still thinking, I'm sorry.
You have nothing good to say about anyone? That's a problem.
Got in his head.
It's all people problem. Everyone else did it. Everyone else did
It
it.
doesn't have to be anybody you really, really know.
No.
You've got flip flop.
Listen, maybe a quality that you admire.
There you go, that's good.
Travel time, travel distance.
I've had laryngitis so much that I can't sing,
No, that's.
but I enjoy people, that
Okay,
enjoy
this is yours.
I do too. I didn't get that on mine. Gives you your pleasure. Watch singing video? Like how, what do you think, like a music video or like?
I didn't think that was a good idea. It's a good
Okay, so I'm gonna read to you some of the things that people admire about other people's gifts. Singing.
Yes. I am jealous of, I've had laryngitis so many times that I can't sing.
Yeah.
Because I could be singing and my voice just go or whatever, but I am so jealous because I love everybody who knows how to sing and carry a tune. I mean, it really sounds good.
Nice. So the ability to help others work through their issues, problems, difficulties. The ability to talk it out and see the other side. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Being available to listen, uplifting, down to earth, honest, vision and drive to go after and accomplish something. Ability to connect with everyone in a room, networking ability. Bravery, connecting, willingness to reach out and dig into the what?
That's
The
Dig
facts.
into the facts.
Man, it looks like dig into the jack. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Well, I do my S and my J's pretty similar.
Organizational skills, the gift of patience. I really, really wish I had that one.
Which one?
Patience.
Yeah.
Giving time to others without question, make people feel welcomed, encouraging, patient, funny, great listener, dependability, sense of humor. I think I said that. My mother is forgiving even when I feel it is not deserved.
Is that yours?
Absolutely not. No, I didn't do one. Not my mom. But I think it is a lot easier when you're thinking about someone else than to think about yourself. I mean, so now we're gonna do the fun part about thinking about ourselves. So try to think about some of those things when you're working on your sheet, and then I might partner you up. Wouldn't that be fun? Because the facilitator gets to do things like that. So I might partner you up and then have you guys talk to each other about your gifts, and then the other person is gonna present. So there you go. How long? 10 minutes-ish?
You've got till 12, so you've
You've
got plenty.
Wow, okay.
I found this on the web.
Yes. So yeah, let's do like 10. I know this is the hard part.
Partner up.
No, right, first I want you to look through that worksheet and fill that out about you.
I just want to see one of these.
What are your unique gifts? That's what you want us to fill.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna sit over here and eat a donut while you guys.
Is this specific to our youth? So it was, the first question was like.
No, those are just ideas to help you think about, if you're having a hard time coming up with something.
Gotcha.
Those are just kind of extra. Yeah, and the other part that I didn't talk about that's up on the slide, the last one, take a strengths assessment. Like, I'm all about these things. So we've done strength finders at work. I've done it personally. I've had my son do it. It's $20 for strength finders, but I found that quiz for free and I took it and it's really close to my strength finder. So if you really want to think about, you know, what are my best abilities? What are my gifts? That's a good way to do it too. I didn't think we should all do that today though.
It's okay.
Not this one.
Start.
Yes, it's too good.
just finished it and I'm looking at it. Have another sheet. Have a new.
Oh my gosh. I'm not starting the clock over.
I'm just gonna keep digging into it. It's,
Let me see it.
I don't think so.
I think you should show it to me. Let me see how close you are.
Because they're not gifts, they're just, no more interest.
So Kyle said that's all we're talking
I
about.
think they're, no, but I think it's gonna, I think they're running.
A little bit. Wait, did I do this right? I think I might.
No.
So I think these are ideas to try to find out like your unique, sorry. Oh, okay. I thought about the same thing.
Are you serious?
Yes. Please help.
Help?
Do this right.
Oh. Yeah. Kind of.
Kind of like mine was kind of.
Now I'm just trying to think, how am I gonna explain it the right way? Obviously I didn't.
No, I just think that there's too much crossover, it's hard.
So from these, I'm supposed to find more about passion, what I guess.
No, this is good.
This year.
Yeah.
Put them all in here.
I'm gonna tell you all a little story.
Mine is like this.
Well, it's awesome.
There's no
All right, so let's just move forward. Is everybody done?
Can you take a look at mine too?
No. Like, I don't wanna like be the teacher. I mean, I do, but I don't. Okay, so,
Is that a gift?
yeah. Yeah, okay. So think about this little story, okay? Okay. I once read a story. I wrote down the story about a woman who didn't know what her gifts were, like Sunny. When asked what she enjoyed doing most, she replied, dancing. She wasn't going to win any awards for her skills, but she loved it and absolutely came alive when she danced. Through a similar experience, she came up with the idea to start a business of taking international group tours, different countries to learn about cultural dance. It's her passion, it's her purpose, and she knows she matters to others. Does that help? Like, so the things that your interest in your, like, I don't know how to break it down. Kyle, you want to talk about it? So like, let me think. So like, it doesn't have to be something that you're really good at for it to be a gift. The fact that you love it is a gift to you. Does that make sense? And so you can use those things to help other people. So like, she wanted to dance, but she couldn't really dance, but she loved to dance. So her gifts were the organizational skills, the business skills, the pieces, but she put the two together to come up with the passion. Yeah? Does that help? Okay. Does anybody want to redo their sheet or are we all good?
We're good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to break you guys. I'm going to break you guys up. And this is going to be fun. Kyle and Diane. I'm not going to remember everybody's names. Hunter, not Sunny.
Oh, thank
How about-
God. Sorry.
Sunny. Sarah.
Okay.
Kiera. And it's, I'm going to say it wrong. It's Cara. Cara. I'm gonna get my before I don't remember. How about Tiffany? Who's left? You guys left? No, you're good. Yeah. That's good.
Well, he's more than well.
So you guys are gonna talk to each other about what you came up with about yourself. And you're gonna present about the other
Well,
person.
my thought process.
You're not in.
Working with.
You have to-
All my emails on this.
Oh, okay.
I have two that I'm still waiting on.
I may buy one of these every once in a while. I usually drink half.
Right. Smart. What river did you bring? I need to.
For everybody.
afraid of, but I. Oh, that was young. I brought him. I don't know what I like Yeah. Well, my place that I'm a planner, I'm like, all right, what are we doing? I have a whole calendar, like, every day. I mean, that's a part of the process. For me, yeah. And like listening is also one of my strengths, is I'm not as open to conversation.
Baker, I love that. I gotta get my make get myself.
But then at work,
Today I.
make us mad all the time.
So like now.
So I think we're going to share like this. So I do want to get, yeah, but I do want to get, make sure that I understand. Or I
And then I will be.
So you're obviously very caring. You obviously have a big heart for and yeah, and so you're very empathetic for all that combines really want to help. I love that you want to help. And that
There's always something.
correct? Okay. Okay, so you, all your qualities makes you want to help, so you can use communication, and you just want to be able to. But you got a lot of okay, lovely. Okay, so I love to spend my time. I just want to. Sports, those were my primary time consuming things other than like schools and whatnot. I also really enjoy just like making other people laugh, and I think that's what they do to this day. I love making like sure, yeah, like finding joy. And so that has always been something that I've known about myself, and that I just like things and I like to make changes. And I like when people are laughing. And then recently, I really think that God has instilled me a sense of, I want to serve. I just want to serve, whatever you guys can do. So I used to work with students, and I love serving students. I used to work with students, so like, the CS, schools, students that were struggling, we would serve them in whatever capacity we can, tutoring, mentoring, we brought food, and stuff like that. And then now that has evolved into serving those and so I think that's one passion, which I'm able to do with my job, and then the other one of like just laugh and find joy. I think so that I'm able to do that anywhere, and so I just happen to be able to apply that to the job that I'm currently working on. Yeah, so that's pretty much all that. There's.
So I've been told that you like to be stress breaker on the stress board. And people, that's enjoyment of whatever you guys are doing at the time, work, play, whatever. Try to make everything really worthwhile. Use a lot of knowledge and vicarious myself to others. I'm not writing.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm knowledgeable, I think I still
But you're knowledgeable at what you're doing. That's the way I look at it. You're in this purpose to help others in this field. And you're trying to help them. Knowledge to help them. So what do you think? There's always been
I'm thinking like.
Never know. Like I said, I like to share with others, and you never know when you're going to do that.
Because I know you.
So everything is right. The website, but I can
I think you're serving or meant to serve. Said, I think God. This is what and from
Especially like.
Like maybe like a.
Did I miss it? I don't know. I'm trying to remember sometimes my memories. Looking at the patient and assessing that patient. So I had to go down and put every patient in my head personally.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Whatever you call that.
Okay, should we?
So you know what I did?
This is my joy.
I took the things that I was passionate about and I broke them out into like,
Yes.
what ifs do I need?
And
That's what helped me.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Okay, are you guys good? Or you want to
I'll
I assess.
But that's
Okay,
You have built this up.
all right, so we'll go ahead and keep moving. I'm sorry, you guys on Zoom, like I couldn't figure out how to make this work with the Zoom call and not in person, so I apologize for that. I couldn't figure out how to make it work for people on Zoom, so. Okay, all right, so let me just share a little bit that I was talking with a couple of the groups. So overall, in general, I know this is difficult, but the goal is, if you're an ISC or you're a DSP or you're working with someone with a disability or you're a parent or whatever, this is kind of to be able to look into yourself and think about your own gifts, but also someone else's. So if you're sharing back and forth and someone says, I enjoy being active, right? So what do? I like to run. Okay. So then if you go one step further, if I'm working with somebody and I know that they like to run, asking more questions on top of that, like, okay, well, that immediately makes me think of a 5K run that I just saw on Facebook that you could go to. And then that person might go there and then they might meet people that like to run. And then it kind of grows from there.
Running club.
You know, so, and I know that these kind of things are hard to think about. And they're hard when, like an ISP, if you're working with someone brand new, you have a new caseload of people you've never met before. You don't know anything about them except what's in their plan, right? And who wants to go read the plan about everything that someone can't do when the goal is to find everything that they can do? So it's kind of just an exercise in figuring out, learning about yourself so that you can then think about those things when you're working with someone else. So that's the overarching goal. So if anybody's confused, that was where I was going. So, okay, who wants to share?
Yeah, we didn't get that.
You didn't get there?
That's not what you just said, no.
That's okay.
Where did you get?
You didn't know because that was a surprise. That was a surprise. Okay, go ahead. Yep.
So this is Tiffany. Tiffany's gifts include like listening and her ability to process what other people are saying and then apply things kind of behind the scenes and have things to bring back to others. Also her flexibility or her willingness to try new things. She's always open to learn new things. She also identified her organizational skills, so her ability to declutter and also kind of de-stress personally.
Trying.
And her career as well. And also her ability, I call it empathy, but her ability to put herself in other people's shoes and try to help other people.
That's great.
So outside of work then, how do you apply those gifts?
So, I mean, the declutter, de-stress, I mean, that's a whole life thing. I mean, I'm literally going through my house and purging things because my mom just moved and I saw how much of a stress that was. And just, I've always been one who's loved school, like if I ever had the time to do it. I mean, I could always see myself as a lifetime student. So, it's just, I don't know.
Cool, all right. I'm just curious.
So this is Austin. So he is very conversational. He can strike up a conversation and maintain it with pretty much anyone. He is very positive, likes to see things as glass half full, and even pull the negative to a positive. He's also an active listener and processes and just continues that conversation. And he's also a team player.
Good, thank you. I'm not gonna call on you guys. I already paired you up. Anybody wanna go?
We're gonna go with, this is B,
Not me.
and she started, this is not B. This is me. We started off, I think, a little kind of not knowing if we were doing it correctly kind of thing, and she said, I don't really know what I'm passionate about. And then she said, but when I was a child, I was kind of meek and mild and quiet, and I didn't speak up for myself, and I learned over the years that I'm gonna do things to make myself happy, and I'm gonna stand up for myself. And I said, I would have never gotten that impression when I first met her, because she was very confident, she comes off that way, very bubbly. So I said, you're doing something right, like that's a strength and a gift, because it's important to you, right? And so she, helping others, finding joy in small things, showing up every day, doing what makes her happy, I already said that, and taking care of herself, creating traditions and memories. Those are some of the things that create She had going on.
Thanks, Jamie.
Sure.
So this is Jamie. And we, like she said, we kind of just talked in the beginning, just really got to like know each other a little bit and kind of figured out like the gift thing. Maybe we did or didn't, I don't really know, but we tried. Some qualities about Jamie is that she's empathetic. She's a really good listener. She's really good at seeing the good in people, and we talked about this because she said that she's been told that it's kind of a flaw too, but I reminded her that we all need someone that can see the good in people, because most people don't, so I think that's a really good quality to have. She's loyal, and then I think my favorite one about her is that she throws great parties.
She does that. Yeah, I've been there. She does that.
I think you're great.
And I think that's a gift because.
Jamie, you and I like beer. Margaritas.
Margaritas.
I like those too.
Where you want to go next? Because you're right there.
Me?
Sure.
Okay. Wait, am I saying right here or Cara? Cara, okay. Cara, this is Cara, guys. She likes helping and supporting people in her life. She likes to keep her house clean. We talked about how that's probably one of my weaknesses and flaws, is that I am a spur of the moment person, very impulsive sometimes, and I do things last minute, which could be good, but it could be very bad. But she's more organized and she likes to plan. My husband hates it, and her husband is the opposite. So that's something that was pretty funny to me. And then her mind is clear. She keeps her house clean so her mind is clear. And she likes laughing for her mental health.
Thank you, most important thing. This is Kiara, being kind, being a good listener, and something that's really important to her is creating positive experiences for her children, because she didn't get as many when she was a child, like didn't go out and do as many things. Building a foundation of love, kindness, and selflessness that her kids can thrive in, and then hoping that they grow up and retain those same characteristics.
I'd like to be adopted, please.
Sounds like you're next.
You want me to talk about Diane?
Yes, please.
So Diane, and I need your sheet because I can't remember. I guess the biggest thing that Diane explained was our differences are, you guys don't believe this, right? I like myself and I'm really good at finding my gifts. Diane has a harder time doing that. I told her I could have told her the ones I've seen because I've worked with her in different ways, a number of different years, right? And so, but I think she landed on the same things that I think the rest of us see in her, the way she's caring. She goes above and beyond for others. At one point, probably too much, and we're finally learned that that's healthier not to do that. She's got so many people to keep schedules even and straight, so she does that. She's really good at that. And thrifty, not wasteful. So I think those are all really, really important. And they pretty much are a clear picture of Diane. And then we talked quite a bit too about the bottom box. It's like, how do you say which one's, more important in all those areas? Because if these gifts are, your gifts, don't they cross over? And if we both, Diane and I think we both felt like our strengths come through very clearly in all those things at the bottom. Can you read my writing?
This is Kyle, everybody. You don't know. One of the things that we talked about though was how we wrote down our things that we did in the youth and how we are now and how they really changed Kyle said, and you won't believe this, that he was painfully shy when he was in his 20s.
I'm leaving.
He's very confident and straight shooter, tells you how it is. He's always been a coach, and so he coaches people, and it's really important to him that, he's seeing those differences in other people and that they come back to him and tell him that, what a difference they've made in his, he's made in their life. And Kyle!
Okay, I'm gonna tell about Sunny, and then he can tell about me. Sunny is a enjoyable person. He loves to make everybody in the room, family or friends or whatever, feel like they're welcome and happy. He wants everything that he participates in to be pleasurable for everybody. I've noticed he's knowledgeable. He doesn't think he's knowledgeable, but he is, and I told him he was. And he enjoys his job. You can tell he really enjoys his job. And I'm trying to remember everything, Sonny.
You're doing great.
I put everything up in my head because I'm used to that when I was an RN, because we didn't have computers when I was working. And he's just a pleasure to be around. And he's very, like I said, he says he wants to learn more, and he is learning more, but I said what he's contributed here has been great. It's been fantastic. So thank you, Sonny.
Thank you. It was much harder to listen to than I anticipated. They have others talk about you.
Connor, you need to practice that more.
Miss Sarah, I had the pleasure of learning more about her. So some qualities that she is proud of is that she is caring, she is knowledgeable, she is empathetic. All that evolves into her wanting to help almost anyone and everyone that she comes in contact with, mostly her family. She's the primary caretaker of the family, yeah. And she just wants to help, and so she leans into her wealth of experience to help in whatever it may be, whether it be consulting, physically doing something, giving advice, offering advice, things like that. I just said that twice, just different ways. Yeah, that's the catch.
Yes, you got it.
Thank you.
My knowledge of being an RN.
Okay, my turn. So this is Hunter, and we just spent some time talking in the beginning. Not sure we were doing this right, but Hunter is very passionate about helping others and being a new parent. I learned he's got a 14-month-old. Very exciting. And while he didn't see himself in this career field a few years ago, he loves it and just wants to take, wants it to take him as far as he can. And he just sees that he can continue to help others, and it's important to him to be able to help them achieve a goal that they may not have seen as something that they could do.
So this is Christy. So she's very family oriented. She likes to help others as well, and make a difference in people's lives. She never wants to miss a moment to be present with her family. So she doesn't like to take things for granted, and to do the things to the best of her ability. So that's where she kind of carries that over into work. She's very active in her church, and she uses her spirituality as a strength.
Good. Good job, guys. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't have a partner, so.
I know. Can you just talk about you?
Do you want us to talk about your strengths?
You want me to read your paper?
I can't handle that. I would like just melt to the floor. All right, so I kind of did the same thing where I could see where things I loved to do as a kid have played into passions as an adult, and then I went from passions to gifts. So how I spent my time as a kid, I was outside all the time. I played sports. I loved to rummage through our attic and basement all the time. I wore costumes every day, and I played pretend on the regular. And so my passions as an adult, though, is I'm really passionate about justice and fairness, reading and learning, working in my yard, and being creative. Those translate into the gifts. So I feel like I'm pretty good at researching and learning about history, and then logically organizing that to make sense. And also like speaking and negotiating with others, unless I'm too passionate, and then I just bulldoze. And I have a gift of eagerness and curiosity. And then also, those are most, like when it goes to like working in yard and being creative, I went to art school, so obviously I understand technique and material and all of that. And then using tools and understanding the growing process for my yard.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's good.
And I'm Pam.
So everyone's got good stuff. So I think that the point, I mean, I know that maybe it was hard to understand. I hope you guys understand it better now. But everybody has something to give. So I think we always have to be, when we look at someone else, we always have to be able to look for their gifts and look for their strengths and the things that they can do instead of first seeing the things that they can't do. So I hope that helps a little bit. I know it's a little bit of a gray area, but I think thinking internally about the things that you're good at and the things that you enjoy and the things, that you're passionate about helps you then again, when you're thinking, when you're assisting someone else in finding those things in their own life. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question for everybody. And if you may have kind of said that in just what you said, but, so most of us know each other from these meetings or from working together or just whatever. And so when people were reading about the other people, did you guys, a lot of people are going, yeah, I see that. So I think we're seeing.
Yeah.
When you were saying his strengths, I was like, absolutely. And you said her strengths, I'm like, absolutely. And so what you guys think about yourself, other people see, even if you think we don't. And so that's a good way to think about things too, like see, the people that you're working with and you see all of these things and how do you make them recognize them if they can't, like she was saying. But I think we all can agree with what everybody said.
Yeah.
So about each other and themselves, so.
Yeah, and I think then taking that the next step, so like this is where if somebody's strength is staying up all night, like I'm really good at not sleeping at nighttime. Then, like you would say, where does that gift, where's it needed? Where would you use that gift?
Right.
If I'm operating an ADS though, and I'm supporting somebody that they stay up all night and that's their gift, but I'm working a 8 to 2 job, like that's where everybody's working, how am I gonna be able to support that person to find and do something that's up all night? So that's kind of the next level too, and that's where creative funding, and that's kind of how it all comes together, right? So like if you need to open up that avenue of, if I'm supporting someone and we're starting with the gift, and then where in the world is this gift used, then we work backwards. How am I gonna pay for it? Who's gonna be involved? What's the best way to support this person? And go from there.
Well, and I think to Rachel's running example earlier, those are a lot of questions, and when we're providing services during the day or residential services or writing a plan with the ISCs, to do all those questions with every person is gonna be a lot, and we know that, and that's why the system's gotten to where it is today, because we said, hey, I like running, okay, we'll get you in Special Olympics, and that's the end of it, And because we know you've got 35 other people that you need to write a plan for, or 40 other people you have to provide services to. So it is and again, we talked about earlier, Medicaid, and hey, you've got expectations to do these things. But the system's where it is today because of that. And so we've got to really, and that's why we're trying to kind of bring a broader perspective of how to really focus on each and every individual. We know it's a lot. We know you don't have time to do it for each and every person, but are there ways that we can help you make time so you can have that time for each and every person? And I know there's 5 of us here, 1, 2, 3. I think that we don't have crews to cover or plans to write. So we don't know what those things are that we can do to help you. But if there's things that we can do to help, we want to do that. And that includes the rest of our gang and our department, whether it's MUI or Leslie or our Job Fusion folks. If there's things that we can do to help you with these types of things, we want to do that. And again, that's why our plan for next year is to bring in some more examples from folks that know how they've done it in the past. But again, digging into those questions instead of just going with the first answer. We know it's time consuming, it takes a lot, but realistically, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And you guys know that, we all know that you know that, it's just we also know that where do you fit those things in? So if there's any things we can do to help that, please don't ever hesitate to ask.
That story you just told me, we got 5 minutes left.
Oh, sure. So I was reading something recently and there was a story that was shared about this guy who was a quadriplegic and he was in, I think it was his college class. But they were having a discussion about like everybody's gifts. And so the classmates got around and it came to this guy and they're like, all right, what is his gift? And it was quiet because he doesn't do a lot. He doesn't do anything. He just, sits there. And so it took a while and then somebody finally said, well, he's really good at sitting. And it was the truth, even though that seems like, you wouldn't say that, but it was. And so then they said, okay, he's really good at sitting. Where in the world does somebody need the gift of sitting to be successful? Because that's the contribution, right? And so what they found was artists need people to sit. So he sat for artists. He was a hand model for several different businesses. And he ended up finding enough places. He doesn't need any supplemental assistance. He had, so all these ways of bringing in money for his gift, which was the gift of sitting. So kind of thinking, oh, that was a good story.
That is.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That is all.
And if I get, since we've got 3 minutes left. I'm really shocked. I was. So Pam talked about earlier, when you go looking for other, if you do decide to look for other types of funding and not going to the pity reason to do that. I've been doing some research just because I get real frustrated with the system, and I have lots of conversations with people across the state. Sometimes they look at me and think, where do you find out, where do you come, these are just your ideas. And so I've been trying to put together stuff that's not just my ideas, but fact, evidence-based practices and stuff. And there was this thing that I can't remember, it was some committee that was formed in 2016 for the United States legislature about best practices for employment. Okay? It's all the stuff that makes sense. They did it, right on, right? It's not just Kyle's ideas, it's theirs. But one of the things they talked about was one of the struggles that we've had as a system going out to employers. And I just wanted to read a quote because it's kind of the whole pity thing. It says, in the past, the predominant business narrative for hiring people with disabilities was because it was the right thing to do, thus appearing to have been a patriarchal appeal rather than an identification of opportunities and benefits associated with developing an inclusive workforce and ways to accordingly improve the bottom line. Further, this pervasive message, and this is what I think is really, really important, has perpetuated inaccurate and negative perceptions, but also fails to provide meaningful guidance and effectively building a more diverse. So instead of just, they're saying, we've gone out, and we have as a system, hey, hire this person because it's the right thing to do. They need a job. Instead of saying, look at what this is, and there's all kinds of evidence and all kinds of statistics about what happens to your business when you hire someone with a disability. Not just because they're going to be a dedicated employee or any of those nice things that you've heard about before, but all the positive things that happen. But not unlike talking to the business community, we're not talking to the rest of the community. We've sent that message of the pity for the people that we support instead of the gifts. And I don't know who I was talking to, maybe Rachel, I don't know, but you're talking about potential. And I keep thinking about professional sports. So many times the professional sports teams will draft someone that's like 18 or 19 years old. And I think about basketball specifically because that's one I follow a little bit more. They pay a kid that's 19 years old millions and millions of dollars based on his potential. He may not be LeBron or Michael Jordan, but they're going to give him millions of dollars to just because they think he's going to be great. And each and every one of the people that we support has just as much potential if we focus on the things that we've been talking about. So I think that if we always can communicate that message out, that we don't want you to look at this person as, they need your pity or your charity, but they could be the greatest employee you've ever had, or they could be the greatest club member you've ever had, or they could be the greatest Kiwanian that you've ever had. So I just think it's a way to look at things a little differently, and it's out there. There's all kinds of evidence of doing things the right way. It's just the system, Medicaid, the department, have forced us into doing things that kind of tie our hands. So we're going to try to continue to bring you ideas on how to untie your hands.
Okay.
There's I was gonna say, my wife says you still have 2 minutes, but we're done. Okay.
No, I think
I think he's done? Okay. All right.
All right, so we are not quite done.
I'm coming to
Sorry.
your chair.
Okay. Just a reminder that the November provider meeting will take place on the 16th. And you can view this recording and all of the handouts that were provided today on the Excellent Network website. If you go under the provider resource tab and then click on past provider meetings, you'll find all this information. And for any provider that is here in person, we have a drawing today for a $25 B-Dubs gift card. Rachel, would you like to come and I draw Sonny every time I draw?
No, well, he's not, it's gonna be me,
I just want to
bro.
say there's all kinds of perks to being here in real life.
I got bam.
Just saying.
Coffee, donuts, gift card,
Coffee, donuts,
okay.
gift cards.
And if it's Sonny, we have to give it to him.
Yeah, because I feel like, if you're here and you win every time, we'll take it.
Hunter,
Really?
I told you they're going to be here.
So Sonny won anyway, because Hunter's going to take him.
Thank you. Well, that's.
Just a reminder, if I don't have your email, please get that to me. And if you are a 10 member, please stay on the recording And we'll start that meeting in about 5 minutes. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully we will see you here in person next month.
Thanks, everyone.